to Dipu Chandra to her party being banned in the Bangladesh elections. Hasina has spoken out on a range of issues. Well, joining us on the broadcast to share more details on this Global NewsX exclusive, let me bring in Brian Thomas, who's joining us live. Brian, give us more details about what Sheikh Hasina has told ITV network in this big global exclusive. What has she shared days ahead of the Bangladesh elections?
Well, Uday, clearly this is the biggest exclusive where we managed to have a major exclusive interaction with former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. And clearly, like you mentioned, there were a range of issues that she spoke about, starting with she spoke about the recent killings of Hindus that said that they are not isolated crimes but signs of a broader climate of extremism and insecurity. Not only that, she was very blunt in her approach. She alleged that the Yunus-led interim government has failed to, failed to have its fundamental duty to protect minorities, and claiming that vulnerable communities are facing fear and even uncertainty ahead of the February 12 elections. And not only that, on the upcoming polls also, she spoke about polls that is just 6 days now from today, where she questioned their democratic legitimacy because they've been now barred to contest the elections. Not only has she argued that barring her party from contesting and restricting political space undermines exclusivity. Not only that, she maintained that an election without full participation of major political forces cannot truly reflect the will of the people, and even the risks of creating a crisis of legitimacy. Very importantly, we even managed to ask questions related to the interim government's, description of the violence as criminal incidents that even Mohammed Yunus stated, where Sheikh Hasina clearly said that such terminology avoids acknowledging the deeper communal dimension of the attacks. And very importantly, Uday, we need to note, according to her, she even mentioned and she even said that the interim government is failing to recognize the religious, targeting behind the violence that prevents accountability and justice for victims. And very importantly, on Bangladesh's global standing, Hasina has clearly asserted that the economic growth and international goodwill achieved during her tenure are now under strain, and warned that political instability and absence of a clear democratic mandate are even weakening investor confidence and affecting the country's reputation abroad itself. Uday. Yes.
Right. In fact, we're getting breaking news now coming in. The first question that we asked the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh was on Bangladesh Hindus. We asked her that in the past few weeks, 15 Hindus have been reportedly killed, including Dipu Chandra in Mymensingh and Chanchal Bhaumik in Narsingri. We asked her if she feels that the Yunus-led interim government has failed to protect minorities. Hasina's exact response was the killings of Dipu Chandra Chanchal Bhaumik and others are not isolated incidents. They are the direct consequences of a government that has empowered extremists, released convicted terrorists from prison, and granted the perpetrators of horrific violence total impunity. The government's most basic duty is to protect all citizens equally. The Yunus administration has not merely failed in this responsibility, it has actively emboldened the persecution of the most vulnerable in our society. Today, human rights violations have become the norm, with Awami League members, minorities and women being mercilessly tortured and killed. Extremists from proscribed organizations like Hizbut Tahrir have been elevated to positions of power, while members of the Jamaat-e-Islami, whose leaders were convicted of war crimes and undermined our independence struggle, stand at the heart of a political alliance poised to shape our future. During our years in government, we worked tirelessly to ensure people of all faiths could coexist peacefully. We protected minorities not as a matter of political convenience but as a constitutional obligation. Today, that commitment has been abandoned, and Hindus, Buddhists, Christians and Ahmadi Muslims are paying the price with their lives. So clearly, Sheikh Hasina has spoken in detail on the Hindu persecution, on the state of minorities within Bangladesh. Brian, she's hit out at the Yunus dispensation. What has she said?
Well, yes, clearly. She spoke about the recent killings of Hindus that are not isolated intense incidents but reflect a broader climate of extremism and impunity. Not only that, she clearly alleged, and she did not shy away from alleging the Yunus government, saying that the Yunus-led administration has empowered radical elements, even failed to ensure equal protection for citizens, and abandoned its constitutional responsibilities to safeguard minorities. So clearly, there were an array of conversation that she clearly spoke about, and the first question answers this itself. Yes, Uday.
All right. Ambassador Veena Sikri is also with us now on the broadcast. Former diplomat, Ambassador Sikri, a big, comprehensive global exclusive with Sheikh Hasina speaking with our network. Let me begin by just talking about what you make of what she said on Hindu persecution in Bangladesh. What do you make of this response she's given and who she's held accountable for this?
Well, I think she has been very frank, and I agree with you that it's a global exclusive because of the way in which she has gone into this issue of attacks on minorities in the greatest detail that I've seen in other interviews that she may have given. But here she has gone into it in such detail, and the most important issue that she has raised is that the Yunus administration's efforts to describe these attacks on the minorities, the Hindu, Buddhist, Christians, and the Sufis and Ahmadiyas, to describe them as non-communal is a method to evade responsibility and accountability. So, actually, the Yunus administration has been trying to dismiss these crimes. First of all, they pretended they didn't exist. And Yunus has always said, oh, this is fake news from India. He always dismissed it like that. And because the media in Bangladesh is completely controlled and none of the newspapers have had the temerity and the gall and the strength and the courage to write about this. They've just fudged the question altogether. So the Bangladesh media has let itself down very badly because they have really given up all responsibility on this very important issue. But Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has called a spade and said that the Yunus administration is evading responsibility by doing and accountability by doing this, and they have avoided the crucial aspect of the Bangladesh constitution, which talks about secularism and democracy and nationalism and social justice. And she spoke about her own government efforts, in contrast with not giving taking any responsibility for the Hindu minorities and the other religious minorities, lynchings, rapes, killings, and destruction. She also spoke about how the Yunus administration has released all the Islamic terrorists, people who had been jailed by her administration, who had been responsible for terrorist attacks against innocent people in Bangladesh and had been jailed by her administration, have now been released. Actually, some of them have been released, just like that. People go in and open the gates and come out because it is a complete a lawless situation within Bangladesh. There is no rule of law. There is no accountability of any kind. And the army has been completely sidelined and completely on one side. They've not taken any action at all. In fact, in some places like Gopalganj, the army has even been known to fire upon those who were trying to protect in Tungipara, to protect the grave, the mausoleum of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So I think Sheikh Hasina has really called a spade, and she's also denounced these elections because her own party has been denied the permission to participate in the election. A party that has been voted into power 9 times, including an election conducted by the army in 2008, which brought in her 15-year rule. And it was one of the freest and fairest elections ever conducted in Bangladesh, where they had national ID cards and everything. Awami League got 50% of the vote and 75% of the seats in parliament. And all this was there, but by sheer sleight of hand, they have just banned the activities of Awami League and decided they will not participate. In fact, even and they conducted this absolutely kangaroo court trial against her and gave her a death sentence, which has prevented her from even being able to go back. So I think all in all, she's been very frank and called a spade a spade. Now, the crucial question in Bangladesh today will be that will these elections be held under these circumstances, because there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of uncertainty in Bangladesh. And number two, if they are held and some results are declared, they're all set to declare a kind of national government. So put the Jamaat-e-Islami and the BNP all together in the government and put President Yunus, make Yunus as the president of Bangladesh. Other parties are participating, like the Jatiyo Party, but they are not being allowed to campaign. Their offices are burned down and so on. And many parties have just walked away from the election, like the Workers' Party and so on. So it's a very, very delicate and dangerous situation, I think, in Bangladesh today. We have to see what happens in the next few days. And, in anticipation that the election may result in chaos, this government, not even a legitimate government, sworn in on a constitution which does not allow for an interim government. This government is busy on a signing spree, signing agreements with all countries of the world. They're doing one with South Korea, they're doing a deal with Japan, there's an apparent rush to complete the trade deal with the USA, and with the USA, it's a non-disclosure agreement. So we don't know what the Yunus regime will be giving as concessions to the USA, but all they want is that the tariff on USA, on Bangladesh goods, should be reduced below the Indian tariff of 18%. So they have made that as the condition for the USA and said, make that below 18% and then, we'll give you whatever you want, kind of thing. So, everybody is signing agreements, and how can you do it with a government which is not legitimate, which has never been elected, and which has actually not even been able to control the situation in Bangladesh? The economy is on the verge of collapse. It has collapsed. Factories are shut down. The situation of women is about the worst ever in Bangladesh today. And both the parties, BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami, have clearly said in their manifestos that they do not accept the word secularism. So there is no future for the minorities in Bangladesh either. So it's really a very, very difficult
Yes,
and
yes.
situation.
The second question also we asked Sheikh Hasina was on the upcoming elections. We asked about the Awami League being barred from contesting and asked her for her views on the upcoming elections under the interim government and whether they're generally democratic and inclusive. Now, our exact answer was that these elections make a mockery of democracy. An unelected government for which no Bangladeshi has ever cast a single vote has given itself the authority to amend our country's legislation and ban the party that has been elected 9 times by the people. Any election that excludes the country's oldest party and disenfranchises millions of its own people cannot be considered democratic or inclusive. Historically, when Bangladeshis cannot vote for the party of their choosing, they do not vote at all. This is not governance, it's the elimination of political opposition by decree. It appears that genuine independent candidates have been barred from participating, while legitimate parties like the Workers' Party have withdrawn in the face of political persecution. Police are arresting anyone who attempts to purchase nomination forms unless they belong to BNP or Jamaat-aligned groups, while ordinary voters are being intimidated on their doorsteps. Yunus would rather ban us than face us at the ballot box because he knows that when Bangladeshis are given a genuine choice, they vote for us. Whatever government emerges from this exercise will face an immediate crisis of authority because it cannot claim to represent the people. Brian Thomas is joining us for more on this story. Brian, what has Sheikh Hasina said on our party being barred from these elections and on whether this is a democratic exercise at all or a sham?
Well, Uday, clearly Sheikh Hasina has made it very clear and said that these elections raise serious questions about democratic legitimacy. Not only that, she clearly stated that an unelected administration, one that has never received a public mandate, has assumed the authority to amend laws and prohibit a party that has been elected repeatedly by the people of Bangladesh. Not only that, she mentioned and made it very clear that an election that excludes the country's oldest and one of its most popular political parties cannot be described as inclusive, and said that when citizens are denied the opportunity to vote for the party of their choice, participation itself becomes compromised, and said she made it very clear and said that this is not democracy, it is the systematic removal of political opposition. And not only that, she mentioned reports and said that it suggested that independent candidates does face barriers while certain political groups operate without obstruction. There are allegations of arrest linked to nomination process and voter intimidation at the grassroots level, and said that if a government emerges from a process that is perceived as exclusionary, it will struggle with legitimacy from day one, and said that true democracy demands competition, fairness, and public trust, all of which appear deeply strained in the current environment. Uday.
Joyita Basu is also with us live now, editor of the Sunday Guardian. Joyita, Sheikh Hasina, of course, in this global exclusive, speaking on a variety of issues, speaking frankly, honestly, and directly. Now, what do you make of what she said on this upcoming elections and her party's lack of participation in it?
Well, Uday, obviously, this is not democracy. How can you, just ban a mainstream, the most important party in the country? Even if you say that, they do not have, they carried out massacres and all that. Let the people decide. Let the people decide whether they should be returning to power or not. The fact of the matter is that this is not how democracy functions, that only you kind of pre-design the elections in a manner that either this party of your choice or that party of your choice will be coming to power. You do not any inconvenient results to be thrown up. But that is what exactly how democracies are. I mean, democracy tends to throw up results that are inconvenient to certain groups or subgroups or certain interests, and that is how it should be. But the thing is that if a particular section of the political space, they decide that we are the ones, and it is a fact that they are in power, that is in an illegitimate manner. I mean, Sheikh Hasina never resigned. She was made to flee. And what constitution are these government, I mean, this Yunu's government that is there, the caretaker government, in which constitution is there the provision that when Hasina had to flee, in which constitution was the provision
Yes.
that Yunus would continue to be there for 2 years and more? All right. Now, actually, almost 2 years now. And this election is a sham election. All right. So it is but natural that she's going to speak of these things. I mean, Hasina may have been painted in the most horrendous colors, but it's all. Let us not forget the fact that there are lots of supporters of the Awami League, that there are lots of political workers of the Awami League who are being persecuted and threatened, and who are actually being killed. And so you see, there is no denying that this election does not have any any democratic legitimacy. I mean, frankly, tomorrow they may, and if you're thinking in terms of BNP boycotting one election, I think Hasina never banned them from participating. This is the first time that something like this has happened. I mean, what sort of a government is this that they ban the main political party, mainstream main political party from participating in the election?
All right, now the third question we asked Hasina was about the Yunus administration calling the recent violence criminal incident rather than communal attacks. We also asked Hasina if this reflects a denial of a deeper crisis in Bangladesh. Brian Thomas is with us live. Brian, what does Sheikh Hasina say on whether this is a denial of a deeper crisis in Bangladesh? The fact that no one is calling these incidents communal incidents. They're just merely dismissing it as a law and order problem or a criminal incident. Brian, what did she say?
Well, Uday, yes, we asked Sheikh Hasina. The Yunus administration has described the recent violence as criminal incidents rather than communal attacks, and we even asked, does this indicate denial of a deeper crisis? To which she clearly responded and replied, saying that reducing these incidents to mere criminal acts avoids confronting the underlying reality, and said that when violence carries clear religious overtones and targets specific communities, that fails to acknowledge that dimension prevents meaningful accountability. Not only that, she gave an example of Dipu Chandra and said Dipu Chandra was reportedly lynched in public over allegations of blasphemy, and said that such brutalities cannot simply be dismissed as routine crime, and said language does matter because it shapes whether justice is pursued or avoided. And even she went on to say that if extremist networks feel shielded from scrutiny, they operate with greater confidence. Meanwhile, minorities continue to live in fear as homes, businesses, and even places of worships are attacked. Not only that, she made it very clear that Bangladesh was founded as a secular republic where freedom of religion was fundamental, and ignoring the communal character of targeted violence represents a senior departure from those founding principles. Yes.
Yes, let me in fact also get in Ambassador Veena Sikri then to comment on this, because this is a very serious problem. It shows a lack of acknowledgement of the issue at hand. And this approach where you just want to bury your head in the sand like an ostrich. Ambassador Sikri, and Sheikh Hasina has been very direct about why this is being done.
Yes, I agree. I think that she's been very frank and very correct. And, I must say that not only has the Yunus administration evaded all responsibility. They've just literally, it shows that 2 crore of their own citizens, they're willing to just literally ignore their interests. There have been people who've been deprived of their properties and businesses, and every single minority individual in any position of power, maybe secretary to government in the bureaucracy, maybe a judge, maybe even holding a professorial post, even primary teachers who are from the minority. They've been surrounded by mobs and forced to resign. So actually the government, this machinery, whether it is the bureaucracy, the media, the academic, the judiciary or academia, they've been deliberately denuded of all representatives of minorities. In addition to this, you have all these violent attacks. 2,900 at the end of last year was the figure given by Government of India in their statement. And these numbers have been completely ignored. And Yunus government said, oh, we've just checked, maybe they're only 61. But even whatever, there's not been a single investigation. No evidence at all. And even in cases where they say we've arrested somebody, it's all fake, because they take somebody in custody and release the person on bail the next day. Whereas all the media people, all the Awami Leaguers, all the Chinmoy Das, others, they're in jail with no trial, no FIR, nothing. But here, anybody who has been even vaguely charged has been released. So it has been a complete travesty. And what really shocks me, I must say, is not only what the Yunus administration has done, and this I saw even very much under the BNP Jamaat alliance government when I was there as High Commissioner between 2003-2006, but the world community has decided to ignore the fate of 2 crore people, 200 million people in Bangladesh.
Yes.
By this, I mean, it's just incredible.
Yes, indeed. The fourth and final question. The fourth and final question that we also asked Sheikh Hasina was about Bangladesh's global image. From its economy to its cricketing culture, what Hasina felt was happening to Bangladesh's international standing due to the interim government's policies. We asked her if they have strengthened or weakened Bangladesh and what she would have done differently. In her response, Hasina called India as Bangladesh's closest ally, who's now watching an alarm as minorities face persecution and decades of carefully built partnership unravels. Her exact response was, during our time in government, our economy achieved remarkable growth of over 7%. We lifted millions out of poverty, quadrupled food production, empowered women, created jobs for the young and attracted investment from home and abroad. We earned the respect and trust of our allies and partners across the world. Today that progress has been eroded and our once flourishing economy is now contracting. Investment is stalled, import and export operations have ground to a halt, and employment opportunities have all but disappeared. Internationally, the goodwill Yunus once enjoyed is eroding rapidly. Human rights organizations have openly condemned his actions, while his own cabinet members have resigned in protest. Even the president of the US has spoken critically of him. India, our closest ally, watches in alarm as minorities face persecution and decades of carefully built partnership unravels. This is the inevitable consequence of governing without a mandate from the people. I was elected 9 times by Bangladeshi people, and I took my responsibility seriously. Throughout my time in office, we protected minorities and curbed the domestic terrorist units that are now persecuting them. We helped drive sustainable economic ties that transform millions of lives rather than presiding over its destruction. Most importantly, I led with the knowledge that Bangladesh belongs to its people and not to extremists who've temporarily seized power. So on foreign policy, on the state of affairs within Bangladesh, on the economic downturn as well, Brian, Sheikh Hasina has spoken on it all?
Well, Uday, yes, when we asked about Bangladesh's global standing, be it economically, diplomatically, and culturally, and has that long drawn international tension. And not only that, we even asked, does she believe that the interim government has strengthened or weakened that position, and what would she have done differently? To which she clearly mentioned that during her years in government, Bangladesh achieved sustained economic growth exceeding 7%. Not only that, she even said she reduced poverty significantly, expanded food production, empowered women, created employment opportunities, and even strengthened international partnership. Not only that, she mentioned, and there was a clear comparison where she said that today the trajectory appears to be faltering. Economic momentum has slowed, investor confidence has weakened, and trade activities face uncertainty. Not only that, stability and continuity are essential for development, and both are currently in question. Not only that, internationally, she said concerns are growing. Human rights organizations have voiced criticism, and regional partners are also closely observing developments. Not only that, she mentioned that Bangladesh's diplomatic capital was built carefully over decades, and it does require steady governance and democratic legitimacy to be preserved. And leadership does require a clear mandate for the people, from the people. Even said that throughout her time in office, she governed with that mandate and with a commitment to secularism, economic growth, and even national unity. Not only that, she mentioned, and she mentioned very clearly, that Bangladesh belongs to its people and its future must be shaped through democratic consent and not just exclusion. Yes.
Jyota Basu, what do you make of what Sheikh Hasina has said on the Bangladesh global standing now, vis-a-vis India, vis-a-vis the rest of the world, and why this is happening?
Well, I think it is a legitimate, I would say that, worry that what is happening to Bangladesh, particularly in terms of the industry. Textile, if you're looking at Bangladesh, it is kind of a one-trick pony, because apart from textiles, it has no other industry. And that industry is in very bad shape. Factories are shutting down. And you see, the whole thing is that, Yunus does not seem bothered about the economic plight of Bangladesh. So it is but natural. And it is also a fact that when Hasina was Prime Minister, one of the reasons why Bangladesh became an important country globally when it came to textiles and all, it was because of Hasina's policies. It was because of Hasina's good policies and the good relations that she had with India. So it is but natural, if there is, okay, of course there were problems during Hasina's reign, of course there were excesses. Well, obviously she is not going to talk about it. There was the problem of Hasina also, to a certain extent, allowing certain Islamist forces to become prominent in the country. She did compromise with them to an extent, but there is no denying the fact that it was under her rule, it was under her government that Bangladesh developed immensely, economically, it developed immensely.
My thanks to our guests for joining us, and Brian as well for this global exclusive. Sheikh Hasina speaking with ITV Net. India have won the Under-19 World Cup in convincing style, beating England by 100 runs in the final. Big breaking news coming in this hour. India has just lifted the Under-19 World Cup trophy for the record 6th time. Siddharth Rege joins us for more on this story. Great news coming in for Indian fans. It seems the future of cricket is in good hands, Siddharth, as India has won the Under-19 World Cup yet again.
Absolutely, Uday. The boys in blue, in fact, winning in great style because they've beaten England by 100 runs. A few things that we've never witnessed earlier in the Under-19 World Cup have happened. Starting with Vaibhav Suryavanshi, who scored 175 runs of 80 balls. That's playing at a strike rate of 218 in the final. And it was his knock that has led India to getting this win. England getting wrapped up for just 311 despite a century from Falconer, again scoring a good century in just scoring 115 in just 67 balls. We have wrapped them up thanks to a great bowling performance from Ambrish and Kanish Chauhan, who picked up 3 and 2 wickets each. So it's been a convincing victory because remember, Uday, right from the first game when we played against the United States all the way through, we have beaten every single team. England were unbeaten in the tournament as well, but India in this case have beaten England convincingly. And you're right, the future is in bright hands, and it is being led by the man on your screens, Vaibhav Suryavanshi, who's played a knock that we've never witnessed earlier in World Cup finals.
What a strike rate. What a strike rate. Of course, Bahim in that 175 as well. And clearly, of course, outclassing England in every department in the final. Congratulations to Team India. Thank you, Siddharth, for joining us. Let's slip into a short break.
जो भी पके ऐसा पके जहाँ भी हो जो खींचा चलाए पिसी दिल हो या पुलियो गिरे वांगी भात हो या पोड़ी मसाला रस पाउडर या सांभर मसाला असली मसाले सच सच MDH कसूरी मेथी लाजवाब है स्वाद और सुगंध इसकी लाजवाब है
अगर MDH कसूरी मेथी नहीं डाला
तो खाली हाथ मलते रह जाओगे।
एक एक पत्ता हाथ से चुना, स्वाद और सुगंध जगाए कई गुना।
सस्ते वाले दाल मसाले स्वाद हुआ बेकार MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल ये रंग दे ये खुशबू दे ये तीखा ये कम पड़े क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
This week on the roundtable, we are taking a look at the danger our country faces from the number of Chinese imports that have been literally dumped onto our country. Our economy is at great risk. What can the budget do about it?
The budget is like an iron dome. It protects our factories, it protects Indian capacities, and we need to defend them from the onslaught that the Chinese economy is doing on India. And it has reached huge proportions, so there is a need for an urgent step to be taken by the union budget.
What I feel is not single measure, there can be multiple measures, but the best way to stop Chinese imports is by raising tariffs. History has shown it. We must raise tariffs as per the WTO agreements, and we have the limit of 50.
Welcome back. You're joining us on NewsX. A late night ride home has turned fatal in Delhi's Janakpuri. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. That's our big focus this hour. A 25-year-old biker lost his life after falling into a deep pit on a road torn open by construction work. Viral images from the scene are disturbing. The young man lying at the bottom of the pit, his Apache RTR 200 beside him. Despite wearing a helmet and full riding gear, he never stood a chance. The victim, Kamal, worked as an assistant manager at HDFC Rohini branch. His family says he was just 10 minutes away from home when he spoke to his twin brother. That call was the last time they heard from him. What followed was a night of panic and searches, phones ringing unanswered, police stations visited and questions with no answers. Hours later, the family was told the worst. Sources say the pit was dug for sewage work linked to the Delhi Jal Board. The Delhi government has ordered a joint inspection while the Jal Board maintains safety norms were in place. The death has triggered political spars and renewed questions about road safety, coming just days after a similar deadly incident in Noida Sector 150 where Yuvraj Mehta lost his life, exposing serious lapses in urban safety. Sumit Peer, political commentator, is joining us live. Yogita Bayana, social activist, is also with us on the broadcast. Sanjay Sahai, former IPS officer, joins us live. Abhijit Sinha, project director, National Highway for Electric Vehicles, is also live with us. Why are these urban death traps being allowed to flourish, Sumit Peer? How concerning are these repeated incidents coming in from Delhi, and what do you make of this latest one? The whole NCR region, it seems, unfortunately, has become a man-made tragedy waiting to happen.
Uday, thank you very much for having me on your show. And you rightly said that these are all man-made tragedies, what we have witnessed in the past. The problem is here, in the same area in Delhi, we had a lot of metro work done, but hardly any accidents happened during the metro work, where we were digging much deeper, we had many more things dug up in the whole Delhi. But why, due to some processes, some areas and some departments seem to take things quite lightly. What we saw in the Noida was very unfortunate. The CEO of the Noida Authority got changed. And what we are seeing in Delhi is very unfortunate. A young life doesn't need to be lost like that. I think the safety measures were not adequate. How come, even if he kind of passed, how did he kind of go through all the board or these safety drills or railings, and how did he exactly fell into the ditch? Because if you want to keep something like that, then the kind and the type of safety which you use has to be much enhanced. It cannot be like that if you and me are walking and we slip a bit and we land up into a 20 meter deep death hole. I mean, that's what exactly seems to have handled here. So now, was the lighting there proper? Were all the SOPs followed? Now, if everything was there, why didn't Mr. Verma say, we have kind of suspended 3 engineers? We are going to kind of take strictest action against the company who was doing the work. That means there is something Mr. Verma found that, which was not up to the mark. Because if Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi is talking that something was missing, the 3 people will be suspended, there'll be action taken against the company. That means there's something which is not right. Everything doesn't, Pravesh is very, if I look at his statement, he's kind of saying, in a way, saying that everything was not in place. So the question here is that how can we be so complacent with the things? And what we are seeing now is that unfortunately some people, for the greed of money, or if they think the law of the land cannot catch up with them, they become complacent with the things. They are very casual. They are doing things. You dig up a hole, you let the water come in that. You don't put proper barricades, no lights, no divergence, nothing. And when this poor chap spoke to his twin brother 10 minutes before, so it was very near to his home, just 10 minutes to his home, and before he lost his life. And I want to ask one more question. If kind of he fell into that unfortunate pit, and he lost his life, usually the mobile phone you can track, right? Why when his parents were going from police station to police station, why a mobile location could not be located? Exactly nowadays, you can pinpoint to the nearest tower or to the nearest vicinity where exactly the mobile is. Or even there might be some software which are more accurate than that. That also begs a question that was it taken in, koi baat nahi aa jayega, mobile gir gaya hoga, what are and what are. So there is a lot of things which need to be investigated. And one thing is for sure, young and beautiful lives cannot be lost like that. This is apathy on the system. And it's not a question of 1 or 2 deaths. We have to really fine tune the system. We have to change the system. And this should be a case of criminal negligence booked on all the people who have been involved in this process. Let them be Sarkari Karamcharis or let them be the private contractors who were involved. Uday.
Absolutely. Sanjay Sahai, let me also draw you in here. Now, Sanjay, if we talk about this particular tragedy, what do you believe, went so horribly wrong for this biker, this 25-year-old biker? How could this tragedy have been prevented? Why are lessons not being learned, Sanjay, from previous incidents?
Lessons not being learned is only one part of the story. We have actually not created the systems in itself. So when the systems themselves are not there and Delhi Dal Board decide as to which way to create a barricade or security sort of arrangement, and the Delhi police is not aware of it, and there are no standard protocols. We saw in Noida. So there is a different protocol. Here there is a different, nobody knows anything about it, and goes on and on. Not only the nature of safety precautions to be taken with work under progress, I am even more amazed by the fact that when somebody goes missing in a place like Delhi, which is full of gadgets and full of human resource and full of police mobility, there was one constable who was going with that person the whole night, from Vikaspuri to Janakpuri, whatever the areas might have been. And that is the way do you search operations when there is a likelihood of death? I'm absolutely amazed. So the point is, from A to Z, everything is broken. And then the minister or somebody will come, he will come in his standard toolkit. Now, when something has happened between 16th, 17th of January in Noida and the CEO passing orders, CEO Jal Board passing orders, that they have to secure everything, but there will be nothing in that order in which way to secure. Okay, you leave it to the imagination and judgment of the people who are there on the ground. If you try and find out whether the Jal Board got connected or working in collaboration with the traffic police, you will find nothing is there. Variable signages in Delhi, it's full. All sorts of signages are there. But variable signages which give you that at this distance there is a diversion or there is some work under progress. Absolutely nothing is there. So standard toolkit, let everybody enjoy. Who is now also when the FIR is done, I don't think there is any named accused. So those 3 guys who have been suspended, what have they been suspended for? Criminal liability, negligence, what have they been suspended for? And there is a criminal case which has to be done against them. And what is the job of the Jal Board chairman or the CEO, whosoever may be, to pass orders? See, somehow we have reached a situation where people in higher positions have decided that passing orders, sending circulars, and sending some memos or writing some SOPs, whether it is executed, not executed, whether they have even the resources to execute. Who is the head of security in Delhi Jal Board? Who supervises operations of this nature? So literally top to bottom, bottom to top, everything is broken. What you are doing is creating a sham of it. And the unfortunate part is that all these guys are able to get away with it. That is where we stand. If you want a protocol, let them show us the protocol, what the protocol is. And where the protocol has not been taken care of. And the pit in Noida, I think it was terrible. And here also it's equally the same thing. And there that boy struggled for, I think, 1.5 to 2 hours. And there is a diver who comes. There is a diver who comes, who's a private guy, goes inside, tries for 30-40 minutes.
Yes.
I think by the time that boy was no more. Here the people are searching all around the place, and there's one constable who is searching. What is the nature of intimation to Delhi police or the fire force and how they operate? I don't know how they operate. So
Absolutely.
This is where we
and
are.
you know, Sanjay
So
Sai,
within
you
20
know how
days
things
time.
operate like this. You know, there is construction which happens. It's natural in a developing country. It's natural in any country, in a developed country too. But there are SOPs in place. There are safety norms in place. Why are those not implemented?
I think there is need to revisit the safety.
Sanjay, I'll come back to you later. Sorry, beg your pardon, Abhijit
Okay,
Sinha.
sorry.
Yes, Abhijit can take that. Abhijit Sinha.
Uday, thank you for having me here, and deep condolences to the family who has lost their young son, and no amount of condolence would be able to make any compensation, no matter what type of announcement or what type of compensation or financial support any government, any ministry or any jail board offers them. But 4 questions which are very, very preeminent here. Whatever investigation will happen and then the result will come, that's aside. But light is something which is primarily. If at night and that degree of construction happening, why there was no light, which has been reported by many locals that the sufficient lighting was not there. Light itself makes it very clear that there is some construction happening. If you will see, our co-panelist said that a lot of construction happened into metro, but there was proper lighting. Second is whether the taping was done there. There is a debatable version of both. Police is saying there was a partial barricading happened, and local people are saying that there only a tape or only a cloth. This is second escalation. Even after taping or barricading, if something happens, what would be the course of rescue? That is what an audit team is supposed to be doing. So bringing the light, whether it was there or not. Second, the taping, barricading was there or not. Third, escalation level where rescue has to happen. So the previous audit or whoever has audited the site, all 3 are usually mentioned in the contract of the contractor, that you will have to provide sufficient light, you will have to do barricading or the fencing with an iron cover so that nobody falls into such pits. And third is auditing. Auditing is on a rescue side. If something, despite of these 2 preventions happened, who will do diving, who will take care of the rescue? Fourth escalation level is police. Whether police was not informed in that area that such a huge construction going to happen, and it is happening, there are possibilities of fatal injuries. Why there was so much delay even after 4th layer of escalation? These 4 items should not be debatable. These are mandatory. If these are not happening, it means there are difficult times for contractors and for people who have done the procurement, who have also audited. And I'm sure that 3 or 4 suspensions has happened. There are more to come into it, more action to come into it. But looking from the highway side, in highways also there was a lot of accident happening due to fog. This year government has taken a very serious note, and a vehicle-to-vehicle communication was quickly launched. In next year, there would be impact that reduction of accident happening due to fog would be possible. But it is not possible inside city. In inside city, the cost of procurement, cost of construction, and also the cost of contracts are very high. It is more expensive than highways. And here, if all preventions, all provisions were made, then who has taken bypass of it? That's a very big question. And all three, four things which I said should not be debatable. They are bound to happen, and they are basics that they should have taken care of.
Yes, let me in fact take that back to Sumit Peer. Now, when will lessons finally be learnt? Will finally we see some change after this tragedy, after the tragedy that happened with Yuvraj Mehta recently in Noida? Will finally change happen, or will these incidents continue? These are lives being lost.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, nobody should die like the way these two young men have died. It's very unfortunate. It's a shame on the country as such. That's how I look at it. Look, now when we look what is happening around us, when we know the system doesn't work properly, I think it is high time for PMO to direct Mr. Gadkari's department to issue national guidelines for this. And then let them go to the respectable chief ministers, and from chief ministers, let them go to the district magistrates, and then on to the SSPST and all, how the government usually works. It is time to have a national level SOPs which are designated by the Ministry of Gadkari ji. He's a very learned man and he knows how to do it. Has been a magic man that way. He can exactly, his ministry can really come up with the SOPs, and the implementation will remain to be the local body's prerogative. And if there are negligences found, police was not aware and all, then you have to start booking people into those criminal conspiracies. Unless and until those criminal liabilities coming on the people, by that time things are not going to settle. Because if you want to only put the ball on those three officers on the line, then it may look like a shoddy thing. But if the whole jail board, or for example, or any other authority gets implicated into it, and if the implications start going much higher, if the consequential damages have to be paid, and you lose repute, you lose your rating, you lose your approvals on this. Let's say if there is an accident and whoever the contractor is, that company loses the contract and loses the rating because of accident like this, then only it will start pinching the people. Then only systems will start improving itself right, because you must have a cost. There must be a penalty, there must be consequential damages, and there must be criminal liability. Unless and until you make a system which puts all of them into together, and let it be announced from the central government, and let every state follow this. And if it doesn't fall, and whosoever doesn't do it, then it's quite easy. Then the courts and the due course of the law will settle it. When people will start going to the jail for these criminal negligences, then only they will respond. And Uday, it is very important. For say today, a normal man doesn't pay a credit card installment. Your CIBIL score goes down. What will happen to this contractor? Will any of his scores go down? What will happen to the jail board? Will any of their things change? No. It may just look, galti hai, ho gaya.
Yes.
And unfortunately, what was the police doing?
Yes, Sanjay, now yes, absolutely. Sanjay, now the Delhi government must wake up. The Jal board reports to them. Do you believe now that the court also should step in and ensure that court monitored SOPs are followed? We are seeing how now in Meghalaya, where again a man-made tragedy has happened there, illegal mining was taking place. Court has now ordered action to happen and they're going to monitor it. Is it time for the court also to step in here? Is that when action will finally happen? If the Yuvraj case was not a wake-up call, now hopefully this one should be.
So in that case, we accept the fact that the executive of this country is a non-performing asset on which we are relying. And that will be a very, very sad commentary, and that will be a day we are not looking for. So the courts are not meant to create SOPs and give guidelines. When situations reach to such a pass and the executive and the whole ecosystem completely fails, that is when the courts move in for a suo moto sort of a purpose. Otherwise, their only job is adjudication, taking through the judicial process, give judicial directives, and they hope and believe that those judicial directives are executed. This is the job of the executive. And there cannot be a national sort of a guideline. It can be restricted to national highways, but there is a huge quantum of roads which are either dealt by the state governments or it is dealt by the local self-government. And as the case may be, there is an International Road Congress. Now, International Road Congress gives very clear-cut safety guidelines in variety of things. Unfortunately, in India, from a median to a road barrier to barricading to diversion, everything has taken in the manner which they have wanted to do. And there is absolutely no authority which is getting into it. You just see the e-commerce fellows, the way they are navigating the cities. Now we are talking about the contractor. I think you do an evaluation of the government contractors, but for few large companies, and you see the capabilities which they have. The other interesting part, because I have done procurement in the government for nearly 2 decades, the other interesting fact is that somebody blacklisted in some state, he gets a contract in some other state. So that the nature of procurement and nature of giving jobs in this country, that is a different story for some other day. As far as this particular issue is concerned, the only thing, we are restricting to pits and digging up work and variety of other things, we're not getting into fatal accidents. That can only be done when the responsibility is fixed on the agency which is creating that particular work and on the police, and together they have to deliver it. There is absolutely no other way out. It should be hard-coded, and there should be criminal liability which should be associated with it, and it should go up the line. If we are ending at junior engineers and things of that nature, it has to go to the CEO, and if the elected representatives of this country who make the government, who promise everything to their electorate, I think finally the buck should reach there as well.
Abhijit, who is going to, now ensure that these SOPs are being followed? Who is the onus? Who is going to the buck going to stop at? Who is going to take the onus for this?
As we heard our co-panelists that PMO has to intervene. In October 2025, Prime Minister's office chaired meeting, and they have already expressed deep disappointment about the way construction and about the way infrastructure is developing and not reaching to the ease of life. The ease of life is when you travel from one point to another point and without disappointment, without getting stuck, you reach there. Despite of huge infrastructure investment in India, in Asia, India is second largest in infrastructure investment. We are not being able to sustain 30 minutes of rain in Delhi. So the ultimate target is to deliver some ease to people's life. Walkable cities, drivable roadways, these are not reaching to the result. And it is not only limited to the disappointment. Prime Minister's office, and I think it was also chaired by the Prime Minister, and there was very clear guideline that ministries has to talk to each other. There are silos, and there are possibilities that most of these projects and state governments, they are also consultant driven. There has to be a mechanism, and then the Apex planning, Apex authority for transport was decided to be constituted. A group of transport experts has also been recommended. These all work are going. Even Delhi has also done a draft policy, but it is not yet in power. So these policies will take some time to come. Meanwhile, whatever time left to bring such large level reforms, which are very mammoth, the way procurement is happening, the way it is expected that if somebody is losing life, there should be a criminal penalties, there should be a contractor punishment, and there should be exemplary punishment awarded to them. These all require a lot of framework change and a lot of procurement paperwork change.
Point taken. I'm running out of time. I believe Yogita Bhayana has finally joined us now. Yogita Bhayana, what do you make of this incident, and what sort of course correction now is needed? Will this be a final wake-up call for the system? Yogita, can you hear me? Okay, we've lost her, unfortunately. All right, we're taking a very short break. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion.
जो भी पके ऐसा पके जहाँ भी हो जो खींचा चलाए पिसी दिल हो या पुलियो गिरे वांगी भात हो या पोड़ी मसाला रस पाउडर या सांभर मसाला असली मसाले सच सच MDH चना मसाला।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
MDH
MDH का किचन किंग किचन में हो तो हम सब कुछ बना सकते हैं। बैंगन का भरता, आलू गोभी, भिंडी मसाला और भी बहुत कुछ।
MDH
जब 25 साल के प्रत्युष का किडनी का ऑपरेशन हुआ तो पॉलिसी बाजार की टीम ने हॉस्पिटल पहुंचकर 12 लाख का क्लेम अप्रूव करवाने में पूरी हेल्प की। पॉलिसी बाजार पर 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 550 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
लाल रंग इसका अपार, तीखा कम है फिर भी स्वाद। बेमिसाल बेमिसाल MDH कश्मीरी।
MDH कश्मीरी।
MDH
अब आया असली स्वाद।
अब आया स्वाद।
जब स्वाद के पड़े हो लाले तो MDH का चंकी चाट मसाला डालें। MDH का चंकी चाट मसाला।
MDH
This week on the roundtable, we are taking a look at the danger our country faces from the number of Chinese imports that have been literally dumped onto our country. Our economy is at great risk. What can the budget do about it?
The budget is like an iron dome. It protects our factories, it protects Indian capacities, and we need to defend them from the onslaught that the Chinese economy is doing on India. And it has reached huge proportions, so there is a need for an urgent step to be taken by the union budget.
What I feel is not single measure, there can be multiple measures, but the best way to stop Chinese imports is by raising tariffs. History has shown it. We must raise tariffs as per the WTO agreements, and we have the limit of 50.4% average weighted tariff, whereas we are imposing hardly 6%. So there is a huge gap between what is the bound rate and what is the actual effective rate.
I think we should strengthen our industrial policy and see to it that
Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Budar Pratap Singh. After India defeated England by 100 runs, celebrations have begun all over India, with the nation rejoicing this historic win. On India's win, mother of the captain, Ayush Matre, has also expressed her joy. She has shared her happiness and also given an insight on the hard-working nation of Captain Ayush. Let's listen into what the captain's mother has said.
आज तक वो सब लोग देख रहे हैं, पूरा देशवासी उनको देख रहे हैं और सबका सपोर्ट है, सबके आशीर्वाद उसके पीछे है। तो 110% अभी वर्ल्ड कप तो हम लोग को मिलेगा ही। बस इससे ज्यादा मैं कुछ नहीं बोल सकती क्योंकि बहुत खुशी हो रही है मुझे। आयुष ने तो जब बचपन से बहुत उसने मेहनत की है, वो आज मेहनत कर रही है। ऐसी मेहनत वो आगे करते जाए और ऐसा ही हमेशा वो जो सफलता है।
Sunil Yashkalra, cricket scholar, is joining us on the broadcast. Sunil, there is of course joy and euphoria across India, but even the families of the players are celebrating. Ayush Matre, the captain's mother, has spoken out. What has she said?
Well, they are absolutely delighted that they've joined the ranks of the T20 Indian World Cup team. They've joined the ranks of the women's T20 women's 50-over game winners, and now we are the under-19 champions for the 6th time in the last 10 editions. Now, this is one of the greatest. This proves the supremacy of Indian team that has won the Asian Championship. They've won the Asian medals. They've won the Commonwealth Cricket medal. I think now the next our highlight should be the 2028 the LA Olympics, and that's what we should be aiming for. But overall, the way that India has won this in an emphatic manner, I think it's a consistent performance. Last 18 months, they managed to get 3 victories, 3 trophies in the under-19, and the good part is that Matre and Suryavanshi are still have a long way to go in under 19, and they are doing their stuff, especially Vaibhav Suryavanshi in the IPL, who's got the second or the third fastest century in IPL history. So I think the talent pool that India has is immense. This victory is continuation of what Mohammad Kaif, Virat Kohli, Ravindra Jadeja had won for India. This is the next generation which is taking guard. Over to you, Uday.
All right, let me in fact leave it at that. Thank you, Sunil, for joining us with your perspective. More news, in fact, coming in now. A suicide attack in Islamabad has once again brought Pakistan's deepening internal fault lines into focus, this time with Shias in the crosshairs. At least 31 people were killed and more than 170 injured after a suicide bomber blew himself up at the Khadi Jatul Kubra Mosque Imam Baragar in Islamabad's Tadlai area during Friday prayers. Police say the attacker was stopped at the gate of the Imam Baragar. He opened fire and then detonated himself. The powerful blast was heard far away. Television footage shows bodies shattered glass and debris inside the mosque complex. Rescue and security operations were launched immediately. Police Rescue 1122 Army troops and Rangers cordoned off the area. An emergency was declared at hospitals across Islamabad, including PIMS. Pakistan police sources claim the attacker was a foreign national with links to Fitna al-Khariji, a term used for the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. This is not an isolated incident. Less than 3 months ago, a suicide blast outside an Islamabad court had killed 12 people. Earlier this month, another suicide attack in South Waziristan had injured 6 people at a cadet college. As Islamabad mourns, questions are being raised about security and the resurgence of suicide attacks in Pakistan. Major General Rajan Kochar, defense expert, is joining us live. Major General Brajesh Kumar, former DG Military Infrastructure, is also with us live on the broadcast. Defense expert R.K. Chibber, POK activist, joins us live. Syed Ali bin Hadi, a former member Indian shooting team, is also with us on the broadcast. Let me make a start with you first, Major General Kochar, on what you make of this incident. Who do you believe is most likely behind this, and what the messaging of this attack was? What can be interpreted from the modus operandi, the timing and the location?
Thank you, Uday. I mean, it's a very relevant question to the circumstances, what has happened today. If you look at previous statistics also, in the last 1 year, there have been 1,066 terrorist attacks in Pakistan and 26 suicide attacks. And if you remember, the district court in Islamabad in November 2025, we had a suicide attack there also. So the modus operandi, as the previous suicide attacks which have taken place, and the responsibility was claimed by Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. So the modus operandi, or the manner in which this suicide bomber has detonated himself there suggests, we don't have so much concrete evidence as of now, suggests that it is the handiwork of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Though, of course, there's also been a mention of the ISIS Khorasan also, because today I was in a couple of programs where the Pakistani journalists were there, and a couple of them mentioned the involvement of ISIS Khorasan. So I don't really, I can't say with confidence that it is their handiwork. And Shia, you see, as you brought out in your statement, I will take you back to 1980s, where General Ziaul Haq created this Shia-Sunni divide. Till 1980s and early 1990, Pakistan was doing very well as an economic power. Pakistan was emerging that point of time. If you go back to history, you will see the kind of GDP Pakistan was generating during that time. So creating this Shia-Sunni divide over a period of time has fractured the demographic polity of Pakistan. And not only that, we must take into account what is happening in Balochistan, what is happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And there the Balochis and the Pashtuns also are facing a similar kind of a situation. As a matter of fact, there is a demand for a greater Pashtunistan and a freedom to Balochistan, because if you remember, Balochistan was annexed around 1949 without the will of the people, and Pakistan forcibly took it over. And 44% of Pakistan entire territory is Balochistan, and only 5% people stay there. So, coming to a point here of this blast, it shows a first important aspect we have to take a note that it is a intelligence and a governance failure in Pakistan, because a country who can experience more than 1,000 terrorist attacks in a year, I think lacks administrative acumen to be able to preempt these kind of strikes, and therefore these strikes are being carried out. A second more important aspect is these strikes have moved inside the hinterland in Pakistan, because normally, if you take out analysis, most of the terrorist attacks have taken place either in Balochistan or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Now we are seeing they are moving into the hinterland. And if you remember, a couple of months back, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan gave a warning to the Pakistan army that we are going to target now in places where are very close to your headquarters, something like Rawalpindi, Islamabad, Lahore, and all these places. So there has been a discernible shift in the strategy of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan towards moving into the hinterland. And Shias now, you see, after a long time, I'm seeing that Shias are being targeted. We saw a couple of attacks on Shias sometime earlier, but there was a gap now. So what I'm seeing now is that this kind of fracture in the Pakistan society is taking place, and it does not augur well with Pakistan, because Pashtuns also being targeted in a similar manner. The Baluchis also being targeted in a similar manner, and it shows how General failed Field Marshal Munir is not able to uh, carry out his whatever he wants to administer within Pakistan, because the focus of the Pakistan government is not here. Focus is outside. They are having free lunches in United States, and they are more bothered on getting loans from the IMF, and their focus is on money. As a matter of fact, yesterday or day before yesterday, you know that if you recollect, uh, Shabazz Sharif making a statement that, I have to go with a begging bowl, and I have to take along my field marshal with me, and we need money for the Pakistan economy, and we are not able to run Pakistan, because more than 30% of the Pakistan's budget is based on debt financing. So if that is the state of the country, and considering the internal situation in Pakistan today, I think it's a time will come now when Pakistan will be split into a number of parts, as we are seeing this kind of a balkanization of Pakistan, which some people are already started, talking about it. It may become a reality.
Also, Major Brajesh Kumar, if I can draw you in here on this, on this attack today. Of course, it seems that it was deliberately targeted at the Shia community, and it once again shows that more and more communities in Pakistan are unsafe. We've seen what's been happening with the Baluchis, the Pashtuns, now the Shia community as well. What is happening in Pakistan, Major Kumar?
Well, Uday, Pakistan was never politically a viable state right from inception. The divides are huge, they have been persisting, and they're not new. Be the divide between Shia and Sunni, minority Shias and Sunnis, or the Ahmadiyas, or the Pashtuns, the Baloch, the Dardis, etc., in the northern areas, and Sindhis and the Punjabis. So what we are seeing is nothing very new. When you promote terrorism. When you put snakes into your backyard, they bite you sometime. And that's what actually happened. There are no good Taliban and bad Taliban. The policy of Pakistan, which the Western world supported throughout the 80s and the 90s and a little later as well. So they've grown up the Talibanis, which have now come to haunt them. So the situation is of their creation. And secondly, the inability of the Pakistan military to handle things. There was a time when they said Pakistan is governed by Allah, America. But now that is seemed to be withering away. It augurs very well. Feel sad for the people of Pakistan. They have had no democracy. The popular leader is behind the bars. They have, economy-wise, they are very badly off. Only people rich or who have money are the guys in power in military with the foundations, the Fauji Foundation, the other, Saharia and what have you, the others. There are 25 such entities, each with huge amount of resources. The defense housing, the transportations, the logistics. That's where the focus of the ruling elite of the army is. While the most popular leader is behind the bars, and slowly, the politics is moving into a direction that Pakistan military will have a say in governance for all times to come. And there are not many such examples, but few examples are existing. So what we've seen happening today in the center, in the hinterland, in the capital city of Islamabad is worrisome for Pakistani people. They are going to suffer. Earlier the better it is for us. They have been a pain in the wrong place for a long period of time, dissipating their meager resources, their energy and their power in trying to breed terrorism in our part of the world. Yesterday, they had the Kashmir Day celebrations, but then what happened? We saw in Indian part, there were huge celebrations. In the POK area, they were at the riots or the demonstrations against the administration. So that is what we have in our western border. And I agree with my previous panelist speaker who says, sooner, earlier than later, they are going to fall apart. Afghanistan is an enemy now. They don't have good relationship with us. The economy is bad.
Yes.
Where will you go?
Indeed. And
even Trump has stopped.
If this continues, R.K. Chibber, it certainly seems that the implosion of Pakistan is certain. What do you make of this attack and the wider ramifications of it?
Really, it is very unfortunate part. Pakistan is facing a replication of supporting terrorism for the last number of decades now. Innocent people of the Pakistan are facing the brunt of the failed state of the Pakistan. I am a displaced person from the POJK. My grandfather and father came from the Mirpur, that is still occupied by the Pakistan. Pakistan called himself as Islamic State. What to talk of the Hindus, Sikhs and Christians. Even the Muslim community, the Shia, are now the target of these people. They are killing here and there. Shia and Sunni conflict. This is really a matter of concern for the common people of the Pakistan. The people who migrated from the India, they are still called the Muhajir. And they won't have the full right for the people migrated from the Pakistan to Jammu and Kashmir. You just see the misdeed committed by the army, particularly in the Pakistan, and the political party always were on the second part. The Taliban, they offered the land to the Taliban to fight against the USA. They trained the terrorists to act against the J&K, particularly in India as a whole. Over and above, the inflation in the Pakistan, it is on the higher side. What to talk of the common community over there, people are not in a position to buy the flour, rice and vegetables. And the sources for the income are deteriorating day by day. since the independence, right from the 1947, army is controlling the Pakistan, and the political parties are taken on the second seat. Now, this blast occurred in the outskirts of the Islamabad, where it has shaken the entire Pakistan. Pakistan has itself stomach empty, and is just supporting the other part of the world also. The other day, the Prime Minister was saying that we are with the Bangladesh, we are with the entire population of Bangladesh. We advise Pakistan, this is the right time, just focus on your Pakistan territory, leaving aside the Afghanistan and the India, where you are infiltrating the terrorists day in and day out. Just say, hardly 3-4 days back, our Indian army killed 3 terrorists in the J&K, particularly the Kishtwar district of the Jammu province. You see, all the 3 terrorists were from the Pakistan itself. I, on the behalf of the people of the India, advise the people who are at the helm of the affair in the Pakistan that they take care of their economy, they take care of their political leaders, as my fellow panelists have rightly stated, the common man, the people who supported the person who is behind the bar. What will happen to the economy and the other political setup in the Pakistan? This is the right time to Pakistan think over it and act as per the true democratic country in the world. That is not happening. Just say, this is the Pakistan where we have the Jaish-e-Mohammed, Taliban, even the Osama bin Laden was also in the Pakistan. And the Pakistan government provided him a big bungalow to live over there. If this is the case, even the Masood Azhar, he is also in the Pakistan. But over and above, the economy, the political setup, and the defense over there.
That is that is the unfortunate part. When you make terror into a state policy, unfortunately, it will bite you back, and that is sad for the people of Pakistan. Today, Major General Kochar, they are coming out. The victims of this incident, they are they are abusing and cursing and blaming Asim Munir and Shehbaz Sharif for all of this.
Right. You're absolutely right, because when I get to talk, because I'm into this track 2 and track 3 diplomacy with people to people in coming on the YouTube channels also, what I'm realizing is that there is a resurgence of this movement in Pakistan, especially among the youth, because Gen X is one thing which is going to make a difference, and Pakistan also has a very young population, something like India has, 60% of the population is around 35 or below, and they're going to make a difference, because you see the movements have already started. They have started questioning their government on the various policies of the government. The way this government, you see, most of the industries there in Pakistan have closed down, and they are not able to generate employment. Youth are frustrated. You have stringent kind of laws in which you can't you express your thought. Their media, look at the media. Nobody in Pakistan media, the way we are speaking today, and the way our media is structured, we can speak our mind. In Pakistan, you can't speak your mind. So that is one important aspect, and I'm glad you touched this point, because in times to come, there is going to be a change in Pakistan. Just beginning has just commenced, and it won't be very, very far off when this churning in Pakistan will take place, and the way this fracturing of the areas, like you see what is happening in POK today. See what is happening in Sindh. People are fighting for water. Tomorrow your Indus Water Treaty takes shape. 26% of population of Pakistan, or the GDP of Pakistan, is agrarian. Pakistan is aggregated economy, and a moment this water issue comes up in a big way, which is likely to come up I give it another about 5 to 10 years, you will see there is going to be a massive unrest in Pakistan, and they can't be flaunting their nuclear weapon all the time, because their nuclear bluff has been taken by us on a number of times, and we actually proved it in Operation Sindoor. So you will see a drastic change in Pakistan taking place, and people are going to demand. What has happened to Imran Khan today is already created a churning in Pakistan or a stirring in Pakistan, because the way he has been kept in jail without any judicial kind of justice. And my last point is, when we speak to the people of Pakistan, they are very, very clear that this government is not a constitutionally formed government. Second, Munir is changing the constitution to remain in power for a long time, and it is not a democracy any longer, as we are seeing that.
Yes.
So I think this sort of a thing is going to happen.
Okay, Mitchell Brajesh Kumar, let me quickly draw you in here as well now on, on what this means really for Pakistan going ahead.